Mysterious deep-sea creatures scarier than the megalodon shark. Ever look at an animal and think about how your life would be so much better if you never learned it existed? Well, one such animal, the goblin shark, is probably at the top of my list. For the sake of your sanity, I'll let you know that goblin sharks only eat squid and smaller fish, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to tell you about how they go about eating them. To eat these tasty treats, it jets its jaw out 7 centimeters, grabbing its prey in its mouth, and then once it's done, the jaw retracts. And we all wish we could forget what we just saw and learned about. Fortunately, they are deep-sea livers because they grow up to 3.5 meters long and weigh almost 500 pounds. Look, some animals' names aren't the most fitting, but this is a goblin. No thank you. Ever feel like your stomach doubled in size after a big meal? That's pretty much always the case for the black swallower. Found at incredible deep-sea depths, this fish can extend its gut so that it can eat things that are up to 4 times its length and 10 times its mass. So while they only grow to about 10 inches long, they can eat food much bigger. The end result, them looking like this. To keep its prey, which it swallows whole inside its stomach, it retracts its backwards facing teeth into its mouth, then interlocks them when prey is inside. The end result of this feast is this fish going from scary looking to scary and pregnant looking. But instead of a baby in there, it's supper. But here's the sad truth. Sometimes the meal is so large that there isn't enough time for digestion before it starts to decompose. What does this mean for the fish? Well, decomposition of its stomach contents release gas, which can float the fish up to the ocean surface, away from its deep sea home, where it does not want to be. Maybe as humans we can learn a couple of things from them, because I've always wanted to eat a whole cake in one bite. You know it's a bad sign when a fish has teeth so big that they quite literally almost pierce themselves in the eye. Well, that's the case for the Pacific viper fish, who can be found at different areas in the ocean depending on the time of day. Most of that is 1,000 meters to 4,000 meters below the surface of the ocean, but during the nighttime they will sometimes rise up into much shallower water because there's more food for them to eat. Scientists believe they can travel at a speed of about 2 body lengths a second, and that helps because the Pacific viperfish is predatory and eats other fish. But food is scarce down in the deeps, so they'll also chow down on crustaceans, plankton, and shrimp. This fish can grow to be about 30 centimeters long and is considered one of the most aggressive fish for its size. So it's small, but it's feisty. I know it's a short king, but hearing about how vicious it is, coupled with how ugly it is, I've officially given it the classification of scary. But they do have cool features, which includes having ultra black skin, which reduces the reflection of anything that is illuminated around them. Because of this, they can camouflage themselves easier in the darkness of the deep sea. So not only are they fast moving with deadly fangs, but you can't see them coming. That's a scary combo. I don't know whether I love the Stargazer more for the fact that it looks grumpy, or the fact that I know it looks like it has probably about -5 brain cells. But I love this thing. As someone who himself was probably a bit of a stargazer growing up, I've never resonated more with an animal than this. But this fish is more than its beautiful face. It's got a litany of awesome features. What you'll notice as well is that this fish has its eyes on top of its head, because it likes looking up. No, it's because they bury themselves on the seafloor and leap up to ambush prey. But that's not all. They have 2 venomous spines on their backs, and 2 species of this have an electric organ behind their eyes that can actually give shocks. So it's like an electric and poison type Pokemon that's a fish. Or ground and electric if you're Stunfisk. While they can do some serious harm, their fins are kind of bad for swimming, but they are excellent shovels, which is exactly what this fish needs to get under the sand. Once they're there, they use a vacuum-like suction to suck in prey and potentially cause a lot of pain for anyone or anything that steps on it. There's no surprise that they've been described as the meanest things alive. But just look at them. Aren't they adorable? Anglerfish are all creepy. I think that's a fact we can all agree on. But for our sake and mine, I'm going to narrow it down to one species that I think looks like a Tim Burton villain the most. And that's our friend the fanfin sea devil. Living in depths of up to 1,500 meters, this fish has developed quite the wardrobe. And it's kind of pulling it off. All those long spiky things on its back are called photophores. And like all anglerfish, they produce light. But they've taken that to the extreme because the more light you show, the more things that come. So might as well grow as many lights as you can. But that's not their only purpose, because like a cat's whiskers, they use them to sense their surroundings. But here's something interesting you probably didn't realize. All the photos we've shown and the descriptions we've given, they're about the females. So why did I leave the men out? Well, as you'll see here, the male is that tiny little thing at the bottom. And that's where the weird begins. See, for this fish to reproduce, a male has to attach itself to a female permanently. The end result is a permanent fusion of tissues and the interconnection of their 2 circulatory systems. Think you're attached at the hip with your partner? Yeah. That's nothing compared to these guys. I'm sure you've seen this image before and wondered what on earth this thing could possibly be. Well, to answer your question, that thing is known as a frilled shark, and one look at its teeth will have you dreading being its prey. These sharks are deep sea dwellers known for their primitive and eerie appearance, and I mean, what else has a mouth like that? Known as a living fossil, this species has changed a little over millions of years. Just a casual 80 million. These sharks possess a unique eel-like body with a long streamlined shape and distinctive fringed gill slits, which is how they got their name. You can pray to whoever you want for the fact that they prefer deep sea environments, so unless you plan on snorkeling at depths ranging from 120 to 1200 meters below the surface, your chances of running or swimming into one of these guys is slim to none. They also feed mostly on fish and squid, using their sets of far too many needle-like teeth to rip them apart. They're dangerous hunters, but not human hunters, and for that, I'm eternally grateful. I love it when names perfectly describe an animal in as little detail as possible. This right here, it's a big red jellyfish, but also, it's Tiburania gran rojo, which I think sounds way cooler. Only given its name 20 years ago by a group by Mbari, this jelly has a whole bunch of features that separate it from other jellyfish, and make it way weirder. First of all, it's about a meter wide. Second of all, they live around 1,000 meters below the sea level. And thirdly, instead of the usual tentacles you see jellyfish have, these things have arms. It uses these arm-like things to wrangle up prey, but because it's only been recently discovered, we don't know too much about it. But what we do know is that it's big and it's red. And while all jellyfish have that alien spaceship kind of vibe to them, I think this one takes the cake for weirdness. And it would probably take the cake with its arm. I miss when jellyfish didn't have arms.